7 ways I have become more Midwestern since moving here. My friends, I really wonder what those are. Actually, I have a lot of viewers from the Midwest, so you guys can fact check those. But before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much, is the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it, you make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video in my description, and let's play it.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to me.
Okay.
You see, 15 years ago, when I still lived in England, I was a fresh-faced, debonair
Oh my god, he looks awesome right there.
Stereotype of a man with a degree in English language, linguistics, and creative writing, but that part isn't important right now.
No, it is. Oh, wow. But it is important because he makes a lot of videos about the English accent that people have in America, different words from American English to English from the UK. So, you know, now I understand how he's so good at this.
I wore suits and ties and occasionally looked like I belonged in the 70s. And in 2008, when it became clear that I would be leaving England for America, a lot of my English loved ones, plus Uncle Toby, said, when you move there, don't become all American and forget your roots.
Yeah.
You know, stick to being quintessentially
difficult.
English. Americans love that anyway. And I was like, of course I'll do that. Why would I want to change? But here's the thing. When you live in a country long enough, you simply change by osmosis. In other words, sorry family, without realizing it, I've accidentally turned into a Midwestern American man. Actually, let me rephrase.
But what, see, this is the thing. I don't see a difference between an American man and a Midwestern man, but probably there is.
That I turned into what you might get if somebody drew a Midwestern man from memory.
Okay,
in other words,
examples.
You might call me a sort of British Midwestern hybrid. You know, I'm kind of like those replicated English pubs that you see dotted around the Midwest and elsewhere. Essentially, they feel quite American, but they have an inexplicable amount of Winston Churchill pictures. Anyway, without further ado, here are 7 ways that I've gradually become more Midwestern, with the very important caveat that with some of these you could substitute the word Midwestern for American. It's just that I happen to live in the Midwest and these are my influences, so shut it. And a quick reminder that more than 500,000 people are subscribed to this channel, so if that's not you, do that now.
My friends, do it for me.
Number 1, the beard. Now, I'm not going to stand here.
Wait, that's common in the Midwest? Hello, Midwest people.
Here and say that English men don't have beards. How else would you explain Brian Blessed? How do you explain Brian Blessed? I've no idea how you explain Brian Blessed. I'm just thankful for Brian Blessed. But in the Midwest, it can often seem among men that beards are a way of life. Now, I don't really make beards into my whole personality. That would take too much effort. But for the majority of the time that I lived in England, I was a clean-shaven man with a...
Okay, but I have to ask this. My friends, is this a stereotype or is this true? That in the Midwest, men tend to have beards?
Face so smooth, it could talk its way out of any library fine. But after moving here, it was through a combination of sort of laziness and an effort to stay warm in the winter that this just happened and there was no going back. It got to the point where I even invested in a beard trimmer, which is sort of like a lawnmower for facial care.
Okay,
and ironically, I don't
those.
yet have a lawnmower, which as a homeowner is probably more important. But a good beard says, yes, I'm Midwestern. I don't mind the outside and I will eat a sandwich with too much sauce on it and regret it heavily. Entry
Are we going to talk about corn?
number 2, flannel. And for my British viewers, I'm not referring to
never mind. And that was not corn. What the hell? Oh man, stupid European.
the thing that you wash your body with in the shower. Here, that's often known as a washcloth. I'm referring to the material, specifically as it pertains to clothing. Because specifically in fall and winter, you'll see Midwesterners and other Americans flanneling up in flannel.
But I love this type of clothes, my friends. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not like we have different regions, at least as big as you guys have in America here. But I kind of live probably in the Midwest of Portugal.
hats and flannel shirts and flannel coats and flannel underwear. That's just me, isn't it? And you might be thinking, Lawrence, I don't see any of those on you right now. In fact, with your polka dot shirt, you still look like an eccentric Englishman. And to an extent, this is true. I don't have any of those things on me. What I do have is a pair of flannel pants. Specifically, a pair of flannel pajama pants.
I have one of those, but they are blue instead of red,
which was bought for me by an American relative at Christmas. Remember, I was drawn from memory. I don't suppose you see too many Midwesterners wearing these out in public, except at Walmart. But occasionally, I do.
Okay, sorry. I know that's a joke, but it's really common to see people in pajamas at Walmart.
Wear them out, especially when I'm behind on laundry, which I am right now. And you know what? I like it, right? It says,
awesome.
He is definitely almost Midwestern. Number 3, baseball caps. That went on perfectly in rehearsal. Now, it's true, of course, people will occasionally wear baseball caps in England, but I would say from memory and from everything I've read, they are still considerably less common there. And the only time that...
Okay, the baseball cap I don't use that much. It depends. Sometimes I put, but I normally like my hair, to be honest. It's not the best hair, I understand that. But when more air starts... Oh, this is looking bad already, actually. Man, look at this. Ooh, this is so open. Even it is even worse. But when this becomes even worse, I'm going to use one of those. So I'm being honest, my friends. This is a real channel.
I personally wore baseball caps when I lived back there. Was when I was a child. I had a bright orange one that said Alton Towers. But here, it's very common to see people of all ages wearing baseball caps. And that makes sense because obviously it was in America that the baseball cap originated. Sure. And while it might not look debonair like a fedora, something that I tried to wear when I first moved to America with no success, I wear it for 2 reasons. Number 1, it keeps the sun out of my eyes when I take the dog for a walk. And number 2, I'm a filmmaker now, and all of the great American filmmakers always wear baseball caps. Except mine doesn't say E.T. on it. It says, quite appropriately to this video, Chicago's First Lady. That's in reference to a boat, not me. And I suppose a third reason is that, as far as I know, nobody around here judges me for wearing this. Do they? What have they been saying? Well, they can absolutely And of course, there would be no baseball cap without the sport from which they're derived. Because here's the thing, Midwesterners love their baseball, don't they? And I know what you're thinking, ooh, Lawrence, you admitted to us the other day that you don't know the first thing about baseball.
Okay, I also know, I would not say zero, but close to zero about baseball. But my question is baseball more popular in the Midwest than football? Is this a thing, my friends?
You know, you say...
Because I thought football was more popular everywhere, but maybe not here. Maybe not.
Lawrence, you admitted to us the other day that you don't know the first thing about baseball. You know, you say...
And yes, I'm talking about fake football, not real football. Real football we play here in Europe. The American football. Okay, let's call it soccer here.
You're a Cubs fan, but the only reason that happened is you moved to Chicago at the time they won the World Series. You, Lawrence, are a bandwagon supporter, and it's true. I support bandwagons. What could be more American than that? To be a true Cubs supporter, you need to have at least worn the t-shirt, and to that I say, screw your button shirts, because this year we're bringing home the World Series again. Is there any chance of that? I don't know how we're doing, but there could be. Yeah.
We came to reign, Cubs. So this is one of the best teams ever.
Yeah, I bought this at the time to show my appreciation for those lads. My wife bought it, but still, it's all in the family. We also went to a baseball game with Sean and Tekka last year. I even once went in the freezing cold, admittedly only because I got free tickets from work. So, you know, I'm there for life, even if it takes that long to win another World Series. It probably will. It definitely will.
Oh, so maybe Cubs are not that good, actually. They end up winning one, but maybe they are not the best team.
Number 4. Number 5. One thing that you may have noticed about me that says, Lawrence, you lied. You're not Midwestern at all, is the way that I speak. Somehow, even though I've picked up many Midwestern tendencies, my good old English brogue remains. And I don't really know why that is. I do. It was useful for getting jobs. But that doesn't mean there aren't 1 or 2 Midwestern phrases that I haven't picked up, that's a triple negative. So do with that what you will. And one of the words that I picked up, I did so ironically in the workplace, and that word is ope. It's a Midwestern stereotype.
Hope? I know hope, but is missing a letter here.
Type that I've spoken about before, but if you're new to my channel, it goes something like this. Two Midwesterners are walking down a corridor and suddenly, oh, we don't know which way to go, ope, you know, and they bump it. I'm very close to the camera, sorry about that. Basically...
Oh, it's kind of like, oops, it's kind of like that, but they say hope. I don't get it, actually, but I understand.
They use this word ope as a sort of pseudo-apology, right? And I think in that same situation back in England, I would have said something like, oopsie daisies, right? And now that I've said that out loud, I realise how silly it sounds. And that's probably why I replaced it with ope. I kid you not, I even used it this morning when I was putting cheese spread on my toast and a piece flicked off. I'm not sure who I was apologising to, but it spontaneously came out of me. By that I mean the word, not the cheese spread.
Okay. Are we going to talk about barbecue? Is this the next thing? I love it.
Although now that we've reached entry number 6, perhaps the idea of cheese just squirting out of the pores in my skin isn't so unfathomable after all. Because
wait, Wisconsin is the best cheese in America, and that's Midwest, right?
Since I've moved here, and this is no joke, I think I've tripled my cheese intake. Because Midwesterners put cheese on everything. You know, obviously really? Chicago deep dish pizza, cheesy fries, cheese curds, mac and cheese, cheeseburgers, cheese dip, cheesy casseroles, and nothing else.
I love the Midwest.
You know, occasionally I have to make...
My Midwest people, can you guys confirm this? Cheese in everything is something that is totally legal. I like that.
Sure to read the back of the shampoo bottle just in case, because I don't want to repeat the dairy hair incident of 2012. So I eat a lot of cheese, and for those of you that have written in the comments over the last year or so, Lawrence, why have you given up added sugar? It's the only thing I can do to maintain my weight, because I am now addicted to cheese, and I blame Wisconsin.
Okay, fun fact, there is a lot of studies that, this study makes not a lot of sense to me, but I'm just telling you what I end up reading. There is some studies that believe that I'm going to say this live, this is bad, but I end up reading this, that cheese can be more addicted than cocaine. That seems really BS. Well, I'm just telling you. Well, think about how many people do you know that do cocaine? I hope no, zero. But cheese, I know a lot of people.
The last one. I have become a little bit obsessed with kitschy Midwestern landmarks. It all started innocently enough with the Wizard of Oz statues right here in Chicago.
Oh, the Midwest is a very historic region, right?
But then we drove down the Illinois portion of Route 66.
Okay, this is not the type of history I was thinking about. What the hell?
And realised things like this are everywhere. Got any Dick Tracy fans in the house? Well, I saw Dick hanging out in Naperville.
Okay, this is unexpected.
But my favourite is a guy who just keeps showing up again and again and again, and that's fellow beard man and top hat influencer Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, I thought it was Uncle Sam.
Wherever I go, he goes. It's like I'm his vice president. And there'll be people saying, yeah, but he's not Midwestern. He was born in Kentucky. And to that I say, good, that means he can join my little hybrid gang.
Wait, Kentucky is not Midwest? Kentucky? The only thing I know about Kentucky is KFC. But I thought it was Midwest.
Somewhere else, but spent a lot of time in the Midwest. There are hundreds of statues of Abe, and at this point, it feels like I've hung out with about half of them. And all this just from a support...
It's my favorite president, to be honest with you, my friends. I love the history of Abraham Lincoln.
Supporting role in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's got to the point where I even wear socks with his face on. And long-time fans of my videos and observant viewers of this one will have noticed that I even got the t-shirt. Now you might be thinking due to the red glasses that this is somehow a Lost in the Pond product. It isn't. This was honestly in the Lincoln Museum in Springfield and I knew I had to have it. Of course, if you're interested, this is a Lost in the Pond product which I designed myself. If you haven't yet clicked the link in my description to visit Pondland, do that now. And those are just some of the ways that I've irreversibly changed since moving to America's Midwest. Thank you for watching. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at Lost in the Pond.
Okay, my friends, show him all the support. This was awesome. You know, I would love to visit the Midwest, my friends. I feel like it's probably one of the regions I would feel kind of at home, if that makes sense. Because I also live more, like I said, in a region that would be similar to the Midwest in America. But yeah, thank you so much, my friends. See you guys in the next one. Bye.